No, I'm never sure when we're recording.
Nice.
Always fuck that part up about the lecture. Hey Rico, are you recording? Yeah, I'm recording. It's halfway through his lecture. Ah shit, this wasn't recording.
You've never recorded yours, right? Alone.
I know, but like never from the start. Like they're always somewhere like 5 minutes in. That was the best one. I just like that one you didn't get to see me perform, but you got all the explanations. But then there was one really extensive technical lecture which took 1.5 hours just on moves from Nepal. And then we forgot to record this one, and I was like, oh, motherfucker.
Well, you ready?
Yeah, we're already recording.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Hi guys, welcome to our first magic podcast, Invisible Practice podcast. We are Rico Williams and Al Berbel,
Good.
and we are and we are going to talk today about having a pet.
Having a pet. Yes, pets are very important for magic. Black cats do particularly well. Sometimes
You should,
parrots, because you
you
can,
should,
put like a parrot like in a cage and then, or like in a big illusion and then make it pretend to be you. So that's, what's your favorite pet again?
whales.
Whales. Do you do illusions with whales?
Yeah, I have 2 of them in the swimming pool of my garden. Yeah,
I like baby whales.
yeah, of course.
Oh,
Yeah, well, shall we start from the top? But keeping
no,
this on the
no,
on
this
the
is part of the
but
podcast.
yeah, but keeping this, I mean, on the records. Yeah,
Definitely. Now, anyway, we're going to talk about the current state of magic and mainly the reason why we started the invisible practice. And
yeah.
Aldo and I both have our own reasons for doing this. And my main reason, basically, because you get to hear Alpha's story in a bit, but my main reason was I went to Blackpool about 3 years, well, let's say 3 years, about 3 years ago to pick up some notes for a friend of mine from Shane Cobalt. And to go to Blackpool for the first time because everyone is always raving about Blackpool, how it's the most amazing magic convention in the world. Disagree a bit on that part, but yeah. Anyway, Blackpool was fun. The convention itself wasn't that amazing, but the jamming was quite fun. But mainly what made me really sad with Blackpool was that I was in a bit of a darker period of magic already, like sort of like feeling, why do I do magic? What's the point of doing this? Who do I want to be as a magician? And asking these really existential questions about magic. And then just one day, I was walking in Blackpool and I walked through this enormous dealer hall, like dealers downstairs, upstairs, maybe 1,000 dealers or more probably. And they were all selling shit. Each and everything was shit. Like, here we have sponge balls, here we have sponge rabbits, here we have shit that if you buy and you take it home, it will never fucking ever work. Hey, here we have shit we advertise, but it's so impractical that we have to show you a video of how this thing looks like because we can't perform it for you in person. But hey, on video it looks good. No, it was just all shit. And I had some friends who were like very into magic, wanted to learn magic, become a better magician, and they all bought the shit. And they were like, let's buy £3,000 worth of shit, literally shit. Like it's probably shit is even more useful because you can put it on a land somewhere and you can grow vegetables out of it. Um, but yeah, well, this was it, and it just made me. Now I'm angry about it, but back then I was just really, really sad about it because I realized that here were so many people that wanted to get better at magic, but all these people, they just kept buying shit, and they were not learning anything from this shit. It's just like you buy this, you can't perform this, you can't do this. It's maybe fun, it's fun to look at, and it gives you this entertaining feeling of, whoa, this is a new secret. How amazing, how cool. But then you can never show anyone the secret or give them a nice experience with it. And people were just lost. I noticed that because I got interested in books and in the magic of Michael Vincent in the beginning when I saw Mafulas, like that really changed the way I looked at magic. And then from that on, I was just, getting into magic, working more on it, buying books and reading proper books. And then if you sort of get proper books in the beginning, or you have some good mentors, you build up a proper knowledge of what is good and bad magic. You can judge for yourself. And then you can realize when you're walking in a place like Blackpool that 99.99% of everything there is shit. Or, well, shit is probably even too good of a word for it, because as we just discussed, shit is more useful than this shit. Um, R-rated podcast. Here we go. Parental
Very
advisory, 18 plus.
radical, right?
Parental advisory, 18 plus. But yeah, I just wanted to, and I saw the struggle in people. Some people were buying magic stuff and they wanted to genuinely get better magicians, but they didn't know how. And even if you told them, they wouldn't really believe you because they wanted to be better and they were sort of so stuck in this mindset that this was going to make them better. And only until you go far enough into a conversation with them, they start realizing it's not the way and there's a different way to go. And I was feeling really lucky and blessed that I found the right stuff in the beginning to build a proper knowledge for magic and a basis. And I know some people who had great mentors did the same thing. But I sort of wanted to create like a platform which shares philosophy and thinking on magic, where people can go to and sort of find their key to how to become a better magician themselves if they're open to the possibility, rather than getting stuck in this marketing loophole that the magic market, which is a market, it wants you to do that. It wants you to consume, to buy more and more and more. And if you think of it as art and you see how much shit comes out every day, this can never be art. I mean, come on. Like, even if you have some really great artists, it's not like every one of them can create a trick every day. And some of them have like 5 tricks a day. Like, what the fuck? How can you create something which is the next biggest thing that's going to change magic every single day? I mean, I have a whole freaking library over here. These are books written over a lifetime. And even in those books, there are barely things that changed magic. I mean, of course there are, but they're just minor points. And now we're marketing it as it's the next biggest thing in magic every day. And people keep falling for this for some reason. And with people stealing and just being greedy about money and not caring about you so much. So that's why I wanted to start Invisible Practice, because I was just annoyed with the current state of magic.
Very deep.
Yeah, very shit, right?
No, very deep. I mean, it's yeah. In my case, there are like different states, and reasons. But yeah, there are like personals. All of them are quite personal, But for example, I'm very special. I really like being on my own, reading my books, working on my own, sharing uh, magic and other things with the audience, having this contact. And I think I have these concepts about creating something and not trying to share the effect, right? Just try to create to share a proposal, And when I was a child and I was, for example, I don't know, 12 or something, and I was on the magic circle in Seville, or I was traveling and meeting other magicians, I felt, like other people were judging me, but because I wasn't doing what the majority of magicians used to do, or they used to tell me you should go, this way, or you should follow these steps or this order and this logical process, and I didn't like the community, at all, and I felt I was quite on my own, and alone, and
Why
when
was that?
I don't know, because when I had when I felt, this feeling of, okay, now I want to share, a coffee with a magician, to share some magic, to talk about magic, because I needed the environment wasn't good. For example, I used to share a conceptual idea, and they were focused on, yeah, this technique. Dude, get out! I don't care about the technique. The technique is going to be okay. I'm talking about you have to think of something farther than the technique. You know,
Mm,
you can't stay here. You know, it's like very basic. You know, it's
mm,
like, so it happened to me when I started in magic. It happened to the people when they started in magic. When I felt was like everything is about expectations and happiness,
mm,
when you want to share and when you want to receive. So I was thinking of maybe if I have the ability of creating my own world, you know, my own community, because in the end you need your rules, you know, you need
mm,
your space, you need your codes, and you're going to be the one who are going to invite other people who are
mm,
going to accept things. So I was thinking of saying, okay, I like working with this guy, I like sharing with this other person.
mm.
So when I met you, it was like connection, you know.
Exactly.
So I loved sharing magic with you. I loved sharing ideas on literature with you or about
Mm.
music or whatever. So it was a good point, you know,
But that's
to
very
start.
important, right? Like I think in magic it's too much also. I mean, that's also a good thing, I guess, but it's very much also like you do magic, I do magic, let's be friends because we both do magic. Where is I'm also not like, hey, you like beer, I like beer, let's have a beer together. I mean, in some cases that's fuck it, you know. But in other scenarios, like, I mean, if I don't like you as a person and you don't like me or we don't click that much, I'm not gonna have a second beer with you. So this whole concept of, oh, because we both do magic, we have to meet each other again is just completely retarded to me. Because then we talk to each other about magic for 10 minutes, and then I discover, hey, the way you look at magic is completely different than mine. That's cool, you know, fine. But I cannot talk about anything else with you but magic. And honestly, I think that's where the interesting things actually lay. You know,
Yeah.
different
Well,
concepts than magic.
even if this person, you know, thinks totally different to your way of thinking, you know,
Mm,
it's okay. Always this, while this person, you know, is open, you know,
yeah.
open-minded or whatever, you know, but yeah, this radical, you know, people, it's like too much. So
Mm,
what I thought, and I think this is the connection about your previous introduction and my answer. It's like
mm,
what I saw. It's like even these companies, very cool companies. I'm not going to mention any, you know, but even these cool companies, very focused on good contents, good productions, books or knowledge or
mm,
whatever. They create a community after they start the business, you know, after they have a business.
mm,
So here we had a different concept, you know, like we started creating the community because I mean, I was doing magic as for living, you know. I was a magician, a
mm,
professional magician before having the company, you know.
mm,
I was a musician as well, a Spanish teacher, but yeah, well, I was lecturing and performing, and
mm.
sometimes I used to do some lectures and sell some lecture notes. So the only thing is, if I sell lecture notes, it's going to be a good opportunity to share these lecture notes with the community. But if
Mm.
someone from this community wants to share his lecture notes, come on, you're more than welcome to share it with us. So the thing
Of
is,
course.
this community is going to share, if they feel comfortable, their ideas, their thoughts, their opinions
Mm.
in the community, and that's the way we are
Exactly.
going to improve. Actually, the last thing that I want to say is like, in my in my opinion, well, my idea is like, my thought is, an opinion isn't valuable if you don't have an argument, you know, behind, you know, like a good
Mm.
reason. Because opinion is like, yeah, my opinion is that one. Yeah, but why? Give me a good argument, a
Yes.
good reason.
But
Because
why?
it's like, yeah, I think blue is a better color than red. It's like, okay, so and that's all. Okay, so So yeah, so in this case we always try to give you good reasons and good, I don't know how to say that, yeah, good reasons behind the ideas we expose. Yeah.
Definitely. And I mean, I think that's important as well to create this community of people that are similar minded and that want to think more about magic and what to do with it. And
Yeah.
just that are not just interested in the next biggest, greatest trick and then go on to the next one, the next one, and the next one. Or it's not even the biggest, greatest trick, it's just a trick that gets the biggest marketing budget, I guess. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's a sad state of magic, and we of course we see that today with videos a lot, like video for television. Instagram is a big factor. Facebook, the internet. We see this shift to visual magic, and it's not bad because it works very well for that platform. But it's not magic because your audience sort of sees that you are using some mechanical means in order to create this effect, and then there's something to say for it as well, is where you can use, of course you can use visual effects in your magic, but in general, if you look at what really impacts people and is powerful, it's not the visual stuff. I mean, if you look at Derek Delgadio's show, I don't think there's anything visual in that show at all.
Well, maybe the boat thing, beginning with the bottle.
Well, but yeah, but sort of also not, I guess, because
Boom in your face.
well, I
No,
mean,
no, I'm
because
joking.
I mean, like the paintings is very visual, right? Like they fall off the
Yeah.
wall, but that's like what the fuck, like that's fucking amazing. I don't see how that couldn't be visual, but even with the boat, not that much. I mean, I guess, but it still sort of covers it, right, with the shadow, and then.
Yeah, but he really knows how to combine everything with
Mm,
mystery. That I think mystery is, for example, there are like different thoughts in psychology,
mm,
but they and different personalities in psychology, like they were categorizing emotions, so but
mm,
the majority of them, say that there are between 8 and 12
mm,
kinds of emotions, so mystery isn't an emotion, but the
mm,
feeling of mystery is what we experience after experience, the amaze, the impossible,
mm,
effect, when we are amazed because
mm,
of magic. We try to find a rational explanation. We don't find
mm,
anything, and we experience the mystery of the impossible fact. So
mm.
mystery isn't an emotion, but at the same time, so I think Derek Delgaudio knows how to handle, on his show,
Mm.
the mystery thing.
But it's a feeling, though. But I guess
Yeah,
also, if you look at Derek, there's always some sort of emotion which is mixed with that feeling of mystery.
yeah, but the good thing about Derek, it's, in my opinion, is that, I mean, I think our mistake is thinking of feeling on the feelings of the audience, and this is a huge mistake, because if
Mm,
I read a book and I think, yeah, because the feelings that I felt during the reading of the book is like that shit, because maybe the author didn't want to transmit that, to convey that. Why?
mm.
Because it's very important to understand the work of the author. So the
Yeah,
thing
but at
is,
the same time, I also don't think you can completely neglect the feeling of your audience.
yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But in my
Mm,
opinion, the good part of Derek Delgadio's show is what he wants to transmit in the
mm,
rational aspect, related to the script, related to his actions, related to the pieces of magic, are very close
mm,
to the emotions that I experienced,
mm,
other people say they experienced, and the audience show they are experiencing. So
mm,
that's very cool, because he's guiding the audience.
mm.
Because there's something that I really, I can't stand anymore. It's like about postmodernism. It's like
Mm,
it's like everyone can interpret everything on his own, and it's like, come on, come on, come on, what the heck,
If I put a gun to your head, you can interpret your own interpretation of death, motherfucker.
I mean, it's like, I mean, you can interpret it whatever you want, but other thing is,
Yeah,
it's
well,
being
but in
realistic.
some way, there's also something good, well, or could be something good in that. Which I guess is that we have so many magic books and things that say do this and this, and then your audience will feel that, or they will think this, and then I'm like, really though, is this really what they're thinking or feeling, or are you just some delusional guy with a deck of cards in your hand that thinks you're God now and that you can make them do whatever you want because you're so smart because you know the secret. I think it's more like, because at least what I hear you're saying is that the thing Derek does is he has this concept for this routine which he wants to transmit, and he says, for example, because the whole show in the end was sort of about questioning your identity, right? And questioning, am I really a school teacher, or am I also something else? Because when I'm at school, I'm a school teacher, but when I'm at home, I'm a father, and when I'm with my friends, I'm a friend, and then you sort of get to what Carl Jung was talking about, to the persona, which the different masks we wear in different situations, which are suitable for us to properly do that job and the image we want to carry out in those moments. Anyway, that goes really far off topic, but I think that what you were saying, at least, is Derek cares more about that concept and then the pieces he chooses to share to get you towards that concept. And he's not saying, I'm going to do this piece because I want the audience to feel sad, because I want them to cry. And I'm going to do this piece because I want them to feel joyful and happy. And this one because I want them to feel afraid. But he's more sort of like, I'm going to do this piece and I want to create this experience which will probably be meaningful for this person. And they can themselves choose whichever emotions they choose to attach to
Yeah,
it. I'm not going to force them to feel anything.
yeah, but in my opinion, at the end, it's more about the evolution of Derek's evolution,
Mm,
because he starts the show saying, "We are here because I hear a story."
mm.
At the end, he finishes saying, "I'm the Rotista." So sorry for the
Well, he also
spoiler.
says it in the beginning. He says,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Vertista is
So
you.
yeah, so what I'm saying here is like, yeah, he probably thinks of the spectator.
Mm,
I think everyone thinks of the spectator. It's it's very normal, but at the same time, mainly I think he's thinking of the evolution of his character.
mm,
For example, Helder Guimaraes was helping me, consulting me for one of my shows, and he told me, try to think of the evolution of your character,
mm,
your personal character, because it's going to be you, but it's going to be you in this moment,
mm,
telling these stories and sharing this magic, sharing these experiences. So you can't be the same person. Well, Gabby used to say something very very cool. It's like
mm.
Gabby used to say, "I hate James Bond's magicians."
That's very tight, neat. This stays here. The whole show looks perfect when you come in, and there's not a crumb anywhere when you walk out.
Yeah. So the thing is, he used to say, after the show, you have to leave the doors of the theater open. Open doors of the theater, and if a woman or a boy or whatever, is walking on the street and he just, looks inside, he has to see the place, and
Mm,
it has to look like if a hurricane, will have, came inside, moving everything around, with cars on the floor. I don't know, sweat a little bit, or I don't know, break a button of your shirt, or maybe
mm,
I don't know. It's like it's really nice, this kind of I don't know, of ideas. It's
mm,
quite interesting. And there was many years ago. I think it was in the 80s or in the 90s. There was a very famous guy who made an experiment on the university in the
mm,
States, and he was a literature professor, you know.
Okay.
So he said, look, I select, let's say, 5 on 5, you know, articles,
Mm-hmm.
you know, poems. 5 of them are from the biggest poets in history, you know, and the other 5s are from the worst poets in history. So I just have, you know, these poems. I'm going to mix them, and they don't have any names and any title. So
Mm-hmm.
you are going to read them, and you have to put a score, and you have to put why this is your favorite, blah 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 blah, and that's all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he made them some graphics about it, and people were putting a very high punctuation to the shit ones and very low to the important ones, you know. And the professor wrote a book saying it's very interesting because blah blah blah. And now people were saying, postmodernist people, you know, were saying, oh, that's very cool, very interesting, yeah. But the thing is, people were giving these scores because they were students and they didn't know anything about literature, you
Well,
know.
that's the thing. It's too
so
deep for them in some way. They can't understand it or appreciate it.
so I don't know anything about painting. I love painting, but I don't know anything about painting. So every time I go to the museum, I used to go to the
Mm-hmm.
museum. I used to try to go with a friend who was a painter or a photographer. If not, I used to ask to the person because I wanted to learn, but maybe I like more a painting that is a shit. But I
Mm-hmm.
can't say this one is better than the other because I don't know anything about this. And
But
it's okay. And
aren't
it's
you then
okay.
sort of getting the question of who do you make art for and who should art be for? Because in some way you could say that we're gonna create art for the regular Joe, right? For the regular person. Or we could say I'm gonna create art for myself, or I'm gonna create art for artists. And so this is sort of my question is like, where do we draw that line, and what is still important? I mean, what's
Well,
you know?
if you have the ability, you know, the skill to make something that is very good, you know, it's art. And this thing is liked by, you know, lay people, you know, in art.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, people who have a lot of knowledge on this
Mm-hmm.
branch of art. Okay, good for you. But
Yeah, but I'm just like I'm just saying like where like how do you do it? Because is something truly bad art if let's say you created something and we as artists, we as magicians would say, that's a shit, But if this magician would show this to every person on the like to a whole group of audience, and you also show them other beautiful pieces of magic, and they say that thing we all call shit was the best piece of magic there. So I'm sort of like asking by whose standard, like for you as a question, by whose standard should we judge art? Because in some way we could say, well, this was shit because we know all this about magic and this is just a shitty construction. Shit, this is shit, that shit, that shit. But the audience loved it and thought it was the best piece. So where do we draw that line?
now I'm saying maybe they are judging different thing. Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe subjective thing. I mean, what I'm saying here, it's like even when you judge your discipline,
Mm-hmm.
we have to be conscious about novelty.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you compare Mona Lisa painting
Mm-hmm.
with, for example, any Velázquez painting,
Mm-hmm.
probably Velázquez paintings are more complex than Da Vinci's painting, you know, Mona Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the use of the colors, or I'm not going to give a lot of details because I'm not an expert, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but it was an example that someone gave me, you know, and I
Mm-hmm.
understood this point very, very well, you know. But the thing is, the point is, in the moment when Da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa,
Mm-hmm.
the three things or the four things that he introduced on his painting add something about novelty, very important, and this changed everything. And maybe this, is like very small if you compare it with this, but in history of painting, it's created a huge change, So maybe now I can write a very commercial song. I can edit, for example, the quality of audio now it's better than the quality of audio that the Beatles had on the studio. But any Beatles album is better than the majority of the albums that you can record or listen today. So it's
yeah, but
very
then there's the
difficult.
question. It's like because the Beatles had something which for some reason everyone could appreciate and enjoy, but at the same time musically it's amazing, So
Yeah, but the Beatles did something they did any gender, in music, any gender. That's the first thing. And the second thing is like, if you don't like the sound of the recordings or their voices, their instrumentation, whatever, I'm pretty sure that you are going to find a recording of a cover by someone else singing a song by the Beatles, and you're going to say, I love this song. And then I'm going to catch you. I'm going to say, this is by the Beatles. And you're going to say, why? Because it's impossible, because they did a lot. They did a lot. So it's impossible to say, I don't like anything by the Beatles. It's like, well, they were people saying, I don't like anything by any of the Beatles members. I remember this story that Paul McCartney told about Live and Let Die movie, by in the James Bond collection, there's a movie called Live and Let Die, and another movie. Paul McCartney was the guy who wrote with George Martin the soundtrack, and he did the soundtrack. And in the 80s or in the 90s, Guns N' Roses made a cover of this song, and all the people, all the teenagers were like, Guns N' Roses, oh yeah, live and let die, singing. And Linda McCartney and all this, the environment, the Paul McCartney's daughters were at the studio saying, the high school saying, yeah, but this song it was written by my father, and they were saying, your father, it's so cheesy, your father, and they were looking at the credits by Paul McCartney, and they were. And actually, Paul McCartney's version is even better, but the recording was different because at this moment the sound was different, the kind of voice that. So the thing is, yeah. So it is the same with magic. It happens, for example, with Ascania. Ascania had many problems on his life, and maybe you can you can watch a video of him, and you can say, "Wow, it's too slow," whatever. But you can perform his material, and everyone is going to say, "Oh my God, this is amazing! Who is this from? Where is this from?" It's Ascania. So like, what the heck? It's impossible. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's interesting with Ascania because everyone is always like the book one is so good, but his magic was shit. Like he's the most boring performer ever. I'm like I thought the same thing, but then you explained this thing to me with the medicine and his illness, and then I was like, oh, that explains why the theory is so fucking good, because he could actually do these things. And then you see a video of him like when he's much younger, when he's a bit more crazy, and I think there was a video of him, and he was pretty good. Like, fuck, man, this is worth watching. This was worth my while.
Or the example, for example, performing. Have you ever watched Ascania's Matrix? It's actually Ross Bertram's Matrix with 4 coins and 2 cars.
No.
Well, it's the favorite sentence. Spanish magician's favorite sentence is, "It is exactly the same, but it's different." Because it is Ross Bertram's Matrix, but at the same time, it isn't. It's Ascania's. it's like it's insane. It happens the same with the broken restore card, you know,
Mm,
by Marvel's Lepols and many others, you know, and it's insane.
mm,
Just one detail, just one little idea, and everything changes, you know,
mm,
and it's like, wow, it's can't I can't believe it, you know.
mm.
It's really nice. Like Caps, many people say, yeah, he wasn't creative. Oh my god, he was very creative on his performing
He
manners.
wasn't creative. Like if you you know, if you think of Fernan as like that Fernan created the biggest subtleties for magic we do today, then you can see that Caps pretty much like puts down the whole blueprint for how to perform magic. Anything in the Spanish School of Magic is like, if I mean, if Ascania would have never seen Caps, we wouldn't have had the theory book of Ascania.
Totally, totally.
And many magicians said that their favorite magician was Fred Caps, you know? And there's even a story of Charlie Miller and, no, sorry, Larry Jennings, who flew all the way over America just to see Caps perform at some convention. It's like, what the heck, Fred Caps? And I looked it up recently. There's like over 300,000 Dutch newspaper articles featuring Fred Caps. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's insane.
And this guy was perfect. Like we have the same Caps perfect. And you know, sometimes at a gig I go to when I still used to perform, it's like some old person would come to me and they're like, "Oh yeah, when I was younger, I saw this magician perform. Maybe you know him. Like who is it?" They're like, "Yeah, his name was Fred Kaps." I'm like, "Oh my god, what the fuck? I don't even want to show you anything anymore."
And Caps had something that, for example, magicians like Channing Pollock or Pepe Carroll used to have as well. For example, Pepe Carroll was really nice as a magician, but he used to flash with some little techniques.
Mm,
It didn't matter
mm,
because of his personality, because of his performing, and he didn't care because he knew it didn't matter.
mm,
But at the same time, if you were just looking at it, it's like he knew it is exposed, you know,
uh-huh.
and he knew, you know, it didn't matter. Or for example, Fred Caps used to flick, you know, you say flick,
Flick.
like
Mm.
flick, like close your eyes, like flick.
Oh,
How do you say it? Like
fuck yeah! Just don't close your eyes. Mm.
yeah, he used to. I think you say flick. Yeah, whatever.
Flicker.
He used.
Mm.
Yeah, he used to close his eyes when he was performing a secret technique,
Mm.
Fred Caps. So for Channing Pollock, he used to perform on TV with people behind him,
Mm.
you know. So he used to perform like very difficult techniques, very slow with the camera right here. And then when he had to use it, when he had to do like something super easy compared to the rest of the thing, suddenly something just so these kind of things, you know, are very important to
Mm.
understand, you know, the personality of these magicians, you know.
Mm.
So these are very, very important, you know, and I think it's really nice. And my opinion, Caps was one of the greatest magicians ever, ever, ever.
Definitely, but also like if you then compare that to what we see today, and then you think like, oh, back then, what did they do differently? Well, I mean, I guess the two biggest differences that we have with back then and today is that this is something Shane once told me. I think it's that back then they used to focus more on impossibility, and today we focus more on improbability. You know, so back then it was like something the more impossible the better, but today it's sort of like the thing of the two decks matching. That's the best trick, you know. Or the two cards on the table magic, which is improbable. It's a coincidence, but it's not magic. And I mean, and of course, if you take this really far, like the Tamaris total coincidence routine, you go like, what the fuck? Like, no way. But at the same time, that's a very big difference. But also back then, I have the feeling they used to focus more on cover and on doing something beautiful for magic, and now it's more everything needs to be visual and fleshy and showing your skill and showing how good you are. Well, back then you sort of showed how good you were by just doing the magic impeccably perfectly, like cops did. And people will not be screaming all the time, but they will leave the theater being a different person and just going, like, what the fuck did I just see?
Yeah.
Like
For
that's
example,
impossible.
in my conception, the magical art with content,
Mm,
I have a section of my book Chelsea about it.
mm,
I talk about the three stages that I analyze in magic. You know, like the improbable, the impossible, and the
mm,
incredible. You know,
mm,
for me, improbable it's very interesting because you can introduce improbable like the first stage before the impossible fact, you know.
mm,
But when you are in impossible fact and you go back to improbable, instead of going back, you go farther more. You are
mm,
closer to a mentalist person, you know, like controlling this kind
mm,
of facts. For example, when you perform like the PK touch by Banachek, you know, when you touch someone and someone else feels this
mm,
touch of yours. This is really interesting because there's a whole audience who can prove and they can say you didn't touch him, but at the same time, this person is pretty sure that you have touched him, you know?
mm.
So the thing is, it's
So
like,
watch out, man. Otherwise, you get me too to this shit.
yeah, so the thing is, in this case, the phenomenon is talking
Mm,
before the effect. It's like saying, "Hey, I'm here." So what I'm saying is like
mm,
sometimes Tamaris talks about the effect is like God. You know, it's like the most important thing. In my opinion, I prefer the phenomenon is goes previous to the effect because the
mm,
phenomenon is the reason to be of being of the effect. So in my opinion,
mm,
the phenomenon gives you like the key to open
mm,
the door of the effect. So if we would be like more focused on the phenomenon,
mm,
it wouldn't matter to do a coincidence or a localization or a apparition or whatever, because the phenomenon would be behind. Like you would be the responsible of this effect.
mm.
So when you are the responsible of this effect, it can be an improbable fact, impossible fact, and incredible fact because you are the responsible of this, you know. But yeah, that's another very deep conversation. We should do an effect and phenomenon conversation once.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree. So thanks for listening, guys. Thank you for watching the first episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a comment, leave a like, share it with your friend. That really helps us to let us know that we are doing something worthwhile. Also, since we like to include you as a community, please let us know any subjects you'd like us to talk about or cover. Or if you have any ideas about guests you would like to see on the podcast, just hit us up, give us a message, or leave a comment, and we'll try to get them on air.
And subscribe. Subscribe. Say it.
Subscribe to the podcast, or I think on iTunes it's like follow it, and on
Join us.
Spotify
Yeah.
as well. Subscribe, sub,
Sub.
scribe.
Sub. Subscribe.
Good.
Good.
So
So guys, thank you so much. Well, we see you next week in this big podcast.
see you next week, guys. Thank you.
See you. Thank you.